Thanks to all our active patrons who have contributed a lifetime of $100 or more to reach Garuk Dong level status.
Here is the list of those special patrons in order of contributions.
If you would like to support our show, check out the Commander Smiths at patreon.com. Welcome to the Commander Smiths.
We are the Commander Smiths.
I'm Adam Smith.
And I'm Lowry Smith.
Don't worry.
We're cousins.
This is episode 301. And do we call this one like the sick episode or something? I don't know.
We could. You're not feeling well. I'm on the recovery, but I got a cough drop in and stuff like that. I had a rough week.
Yeah, we were supposed to do Thanksgiving together, and
I missed Thanksgivings, multiples.
Did you even have any Thanksgiving at this point?
I went to my mother's, so
you spread your disease.
It was up and down. It was I was feeling good that day. I thought I was going to be good for the rest of the week, and then nope. It just went all the way down. I had just a pounding pressure like in my sinuses. I think it was probably just at that point a sinus infection, but I was literally, those like massage guns that like have the ball, and I was doing that to my face. I was like, my jaw was like sore and tense, and I was like underneath my cheekbone and just trying not to like break my teeth in my nose, and like it was painful. Like base of my skull and my neck was so tight, it sucked.
So Renshai jumps on just to do some digs on the Vikings. Thanks Renshai. Thank
Vikings
you.
Suck.
Yeah, they were really bad. That's why we moved the cast, because I brought the boys last night again, and that one was a lot different than going against Renshai's 49ers a few weeks back, where that was so much fun, and then this one
we
was
won
like,
that one, right?
Yeah, that one was so entertaining. Yep. This one was like the opposite. It's like just a snooze fest. But yeah, so now I'm starting to get the feels of body. I'm just hoping that we stayed up late all weekend long. We were watching movies, went through like 6 Christmas movies. I finally saw Die Hard for the first time. Let me tell you this. Okay, here gonna get some hate mail here, but when you watch something that's that old, man, does it not really hold up. Like we could not get over.
No, you are wrong.
But if you listen, like, I couldn't get over, like, when they're walking in the hallway, you can just hear the heel footstep. I'm like, all I can think of is a person just by a microphone going, you do the sound effects thing. It's like, it doesn't match what they're doing. Like, it was just really bad graphic. I know I get it. It's
Which one were you watching? I saw a plane.
The first one.
Was it the second one?
It's the first one. The plane is at the very beginning. So I posted that on Discord
when
to see.
He's going.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was trying to be like, are people going to get what I'm watching by just seeing this? If, people are diehards, I get it. Wow. I'll give myself a want.
Clever.
But yeah, so I'm not saying it was bad. I understand why people like it. And I get the Christmas part of it. People are like, oh, it's a Christmas movie. It just takes place during Christmas. And I get it if it's like, this is what you watch for Christmas. This is your tradition. But I wouldn't consider it a Christmas movie. And definitely not the best one. I know people are going to hate me even more.
The best part about Christmas movies is not having to worry about Christmas. What? Elf isn't a Christmas movie.
Oh,
it's a father-son reuniting movie.
No, it's a Christmas movie.
That takes part during Christmas.
No, that is
and in the South or in the North Pole.
In the South Pole.
Whatever.
That's one of the greatest ones.
Close your kids' ears. Santa's not real. He could be wherever the fuck he is.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there's some of these people that listen to us on.
I said cover your kids' ears. That was at least a 1 second heads up.
Oh, franchise already passed.
We're in trouble.
There's
I'll maybe blanket. We weren't really going to edit this one, so
goo. But yeah, it was fine, and it was throwing me off that Steve Urkel's dad was in it. What's his name? Was it Family Matters or something?
No, he did that first.
I know, but I was just like, oh, Steve Urkel's
He's the
dad.
cop from Die Hard, not Family Matters dad.
That's how I saw it, and so I was just like, oh, sweet. And then I was like, oh, it's Professor Snape, and he talks exactly like Professor Snape does. So when you see that, like an old,
just him.
I know, when you see movies when you don't see it when they come out, like you're like, oh, Professor Snape. So that's all I saw. I was like, just seeing him going,
also
Harry
the Sheriff
Potter.
of Nottingham in Robin Hood. He talks like that as well. Like,
yep. But I saw that first, and then Harry Potter. So like, he's a pretty good bad guy in that. But this one, I was just like, dude, he's gonna make him start. He's gonna punish him and hold him back in potions class, because he's not paying attention. And
you're doing this on purpose now.
No, but
I've watched Die Hard a couple times. I've watched Harry Potter each movie once.
Oh, I've watched that multiple times.
They're not even that good.
Oh,
they were
shut
bad
your mouth!
then.
Stop it! You're trying to troll
it's a fun
back.
Story, but it's not like good movies.
Well, the first one is very yawn fest because it just they're just more taking in the nostalgia of the books finally on screen, and then they get better as they go.
The books are just better. Let's be honest. The books are better.
For sure.
Right.
The books are so much better. We're not gonna do Harry Potter in depth here
because is Harry Potter a Christmas movie because of the Yule Ball?
I mean, that's what we're gonna try to do
during Christmas.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna try to do. It's
Harry Potter's a Christmas
movie. Yeah, it does take.
Which one is that?
That does take place during Christmas.
Third one?
I mean, some of them because
Fourth?
it goes through the whole year. So it could be a Christmas movie, a Halloween. It could be a.
That's so scary. They're wizards dressed up as wizards.
This is a magic podcast, and we're just talking about movies. This is fun.
Right.
But I do have a question for you though. Do you ever go back and like watch a movie that you watched as a kid, and then you're just like, "Holy shit, blah blah blah's in this, and blah blah blah's in this," and you didn't realize it, like because they were like side characters or they just weren't as big of a part, and it kind of blows your mind. You're just like, I didn't even realize it. Like when you're watching a newer movie.
I really don't rewatch. What are you referencing?
Well, I was just referencing Die Hard because it was like,
just because of all that.
Yeah. But there's been plenty of other movies when you watch, like, because that's what we're doing with the boys is we're going through like all the nostalgia stuff. So, we've done Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We've done, I want to do Back to the Future, but I feel like that might be a little confusing at this point, but we're trying to hit, Princess Bride, and you're hitting all the good old movies that we grew up on. And so a lot of times when I'm watching those, I'm like, oh shit, this actor's in this. I didn't realize they were in this. So yeah, cool story.
I'm not one of those that rewatches a ton of movies, and I'm not in the nostalgia trip yet with probably the first stuff I plan on rewatching is like probably Marvel MCU stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't Larry's not there yet. And then plus we just got rid of Disney, so
Yeah, so
it'll at least be a year. Right.
Yeah. So that
I mean, because I didn't get to watch movies at my mom's house, and at my dad's house, I was watching like Dumb and Dumber when I was like 7, and
seems
Last
about
of the
right.
Mohicans. And
here's the other example I was gonna say. Like in Elf, Tyrion's in it. He's the creative book writer guy that they bring in, and then Buddy the elf calls him. He's like, "Oh, Santa let you out of the North Pole," and he's like, "You call me an elf one more time," and he goes, "Elf," and then he runs and drop kicks him, and then he's like, "You're a feisty little elf." So like that's one example. Like you're just like, "Holy shit, yeah." Tyrion.
I've only seen Elf once, so
what
like,
the fuck is wrong with you?
What do you mean? I just said I don't rewatch movies. I don't
see.
Like,
I'm the opposite. I'm like,
let's rewatch a movie unless I've completely forgotten it.
That's what happens in the old age. Like that's what's happening right now. Is like movies that I've seen. I'm like, oh, I just watched Wednesday last year, and we just went through the series with the boys. I knew who the bad guy was, but I didn't know how we got there. And so it was like basically brand new to me. And this was a year ago. Like, this is ridiculous. And Cindy was the same way. She's like,
I would have thought that I had more TBI than you.
Yeah, but Cindy is like, did we watch this already? I was like, yes, we've already seen this. So it's not just me. It's fantastic getting old because you can rewatch movies and it's all new to me. Maybe I have dementia. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's what it is. That's scary, but we're just going to have to revisit like our first 100 episodes. We can go back and just redo those shows and we won't remember doing it.
Well, speaking of, this is kind of what we're doing this tonight's episode because we're not redoing, but we're doing a topic that we've already talked about. What are we doing tonight? Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this.
That. Oh, jeez.
I just told you, like, I just told you before we started, it's like, this was a year and a half ago where we kind of did this episode before, right?
I don't remember that. Just because you said it doesn't mean that I remember it.
Yeah, I guess you were focusing on your notes at that point. You took notes.
Right, no, I didn't take notes. I just jotted them down.
What are we doing?
All right, yeah. So personal ban lists and potentially expanding them and just thinking about concepts on how to make games better with our play group and or your play group. We have talked about a lot of different angles and we'll go through why, when, how, and then we'll talk about some specific cards or ideas.
Yeah.
At the way of that.
It's
that's going to be the main segment.
Yeah. So, and it's also like, if you have watched it or you remember that episode from before, this is kind of an updated one. Because there might be some more stuff and I mentioned it when we got back from Guys Weekend. There was a couple cards that I had in decks that were really old that I haven't played with for a while. And then I was just like, oh, I don't want these cards in here. I don't want to play with these cards anymore.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're going to get to. We're going to go through it. It's going to be a tight episode. Tight. We don't have Stump the Smith Savant because unfortunately Lowry did get stumped last week. Or fortunately, depends on if you were the stumper or not. If you were Samwise, which congratulations once again. By the way, the card that he won has doubled in price since we chose it as that was going to be our prize. So the Charismatic Conqueror. If you guys are listening right now and you don't have that card, I wouldn't buy it over 20. I don't think, although it is only in the Commander product. But
I don't know. I just probably go buy the Commander product at this point if you can.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. What's it at, like 40 something? Yeah, and you get that and
35, 40, hopefully.
Yeah, you get the blood.
Exquisite blood.
There we go. Yeah, we get exquisite blood, which sell that and you get half your money back and then you get the card. But yeah, it's a fantastic card. We haven't got to play with it yet, but I just can only imagine that it's going to be. Parks just writes comment. You're just doing that so that at the end you get a shout out. I'm going to be like, hey, thank you for jumping on, blah, 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 blah. And yes, Parks, you're going to get comment. Is your all right. So I don't know if there's anything else that we wanted to talk about. I had Thanksgiving, you being sick. Do we just want to get to tags? Kind of
Peter Dinklage.
Oh, speaking of that, that's well, I'm not going to do that, but that's the South Park one. Never mind. Oh, and I erased all the comments. Shoot.
Comments.
All right, let's get to this. You can support the Commander Smiths by becoming a patron. $1 or more gets you into the Discord, gets you chatting, gets you playing games, which we are probably we're maybe shooting for next week. You got a Spotlight deck you're working on, right?
No, I think you need to finish your deck first, and then we
do that
next week.
So in the coming weeks, hopefully before Christmas, we're going to try to get at least one, if not two games in. It also depends on how we're feeling. If we feel like crap, it might not happen. But that's one of the perks of getting in the Discord is it's when we play the Commander games is with our fellow Discordians. I don't know if that's how you would say that. Does that sound pretty sweet?
Dieharders.
Discordian.
You just naming people from what they do.
Sounds like an accordion and Discord put together.
An accordion that doesn't play well. Discordian.
Discordian. Peter
Dinklage. I don't think we can legally do that. Do a Peter Dinklage halfling token. That might be.
And just have Buddy calling him that Santa let you out of the workshop. If I could get that.
No, I don't know if I'd do that.
That'd be.
You gotta at least make him badass from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so $1 gets you more into the Discord, all that. But then if you put it, donate $5 or more, that gets you proxies each month as you so choose. Oh, really quick, shit. this, you guys are getting a sneak peek as to what's going to happen this week. But these are the ones. It's on the sheet. I got to make them here. But these are the proxies that are coming this month. So you can see there we got each month I try to do at least 4. And this is all the AI Wombo art. So you got the squirrels, we got the dog, we got the kitty token, we got the Ajani gaining life token, and then Grave Pact, and what was the last one? Oh, Slug and Heroic Intervention. So actually, the Heroic Intervention kind of fits with the Ixalan stuff there. So it's the Jurassic Park. That was actually an AJ suggestion. And then the Slug was also another patron suggestion. I'll give the shout out when I actually post that for the people that suggest that. So if people want to suggest proxy ideas and stuff like that, you can definitely do that as well. But yeah, that is some of the patron perk stuff. There's more coming here in a little bit, especially when we get to prizes and giveaways and all that. But that is the financial way to support the show. The other financial way to support the show is jump on the live streams like we're doing now. And you could donate shots. Malort is always an option. It's not a good option, but you can definitely do that. They are half price shots at this point because Lowry is still in the gout and whatever, checking his health stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm bad at communicating with my doctor. I was probably supposed to like tell her that I don't like the blood pressure medicine and switch that like probably after the guys weekend.
Oh,
and I have not done that yet. So I'll have to switch that. And then whenever that happens,
it's a total guys thing. Like, here's a little TMI really quick. I was, I got snipped, the old woo woo woo.
Yeah.
After 3 months, I was supposed to bring a sample back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got snipped back in what was that? April or something? Yeah, I have yet to do it. You want to know the reason why though? This is kind of a good reason.
You don't want to come into a cup?
Well, no, I have no problem with that. You have 30 minutes from the time of ejaculation to bring the specimen into them to get it checked. Like, you can't go and where I bring it to is 25 minutes away. So I basically have to go with my hair all just, not that I get like all over the place, but just sweaty and bring it in there. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like, all right, I got a time limit. I got to get this done. Got to bring it in. And why are y'all sweaty? Because I was watching Cops or masturbating, one of the two. So yeah, that's
Don't they have like a room for you there?
No, that's not. It's not like that.
What?
You do it at home and you bring it in, or you do it while you're driving. I mean, that's my other option.
Right. I feel like you just like women have like those nursing covers when they just do it.
Just lay it over my lap.
Car.
Somebody
comes walking by you
like,
vigorously.
No, somebody driving just sees me doing it. Like, oh, he's bringing.
I don't know if I drive.
He got snipped and he's bringing his sample back. It's okay, honey. Or I get pulled over and I tell the cop.
I would not drive and do it. I don't think that's. I mean, none of this is legal at this point, so I'd at least try and do it safe. I'd probably like park behind the clinic. You don't want to do it in the parking lot. They have cameras out there.
I was gonna say there's cameras everywhere. Like,
right.
I feel like none of that is a good idea. Like that seems like it's illegal.
You find that pine tree?
I was gonna
like
I shat
next
on
to, and then just do it there.
It'd be my luck that I find a spot and then I'm finishing up and then a cop comes up and is like, "Hey, there's a school right there. What are you doing?"
Oh, that'd be bad. That'd be bad. It probably also sounds bad if you're like trying to figure out where a school is and be far enough away from it.
Oh, Esteban says Lowry should pitch that cover on a Shark Tank. would be fantastic.
Have you heard of a Snuggie before, haven't you? We'll call this one the Snuggle. I don't know.
You ever just want to rub one out in public?
But then there's a boner mound where you can plenty of room to yank it.
Oh, we went off
it's
the rails.
Soft felt.
Just
for when you want to get that electrical charge.
Don't put a black light to it.
It's just repurposed old hotel room blankets. That's
okay. This is going long, talking about masturbation, of course. All right, so that's another way you can financially support the show is by donating on the live. Parks. On that note, I'm going to go dark for a minute. I'm crying. All right, so I'm completely derailed. So yeah, you can donate on the live feeds by making us do shots, making us take jelly beans. Anytime we're live, there is an option. You can just donate as well if you just want to do that. But also the financial way to support the show, which is also a free way to support the show, is by subscribing to our channel on YouTube. I'm sure that everybody listening to us now has done that, but if you haven't, please jump on YouTube and subscribe there. And if you have the opportunity, you should watch us there. So if you have the choice of watching or listening to us on your podcast, not podcast, your MP3, whatever you use for that. If you can watch us on YouTube, it'd be great that way because every watch is like a fraction of a penny. And so financially, you are supporting us there as well. Tons of stuff on YouTube. We had curated MTG. That happens twice a week. Lowry, do you know? You might have to unmute yourself.
Nope, I didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything? All right. So you had something last week. Yeah, you're sick. So, but curated happens twice a week. I
talked about it last week, though.
Yeah. So curated MTG happens twice a week. It's a short. You can also watch that on TikTok as well. Another short that we do is I got proxy time. Like I mentioned, those proxies will be going up. I do a little short video of that. That is also going to be on TikTok. So the biggest thing with any of those shorts is just make sure you watch it all the way through and give it a like. It's less than a minute, so that just helps us out. Lowry, you did a spotlight deck last week. So how did that end up going? You were working on Super Friends, weren't you?
Yeah, Super Friends, Xavier Sol. I'm feeling really hot here, like on my mic. Sorry. No, okay,
It seemed all right. I can bring down this a little bit.
It went well. It went pretty quick, under an hour and a half.
You did say something to me text wise that you're saying Planeswalkers are
Super Friends decks are it's the first one that I've ever built, and it was tough.
Yeah, what was the tough part about the Super Friends part? Like what?
Planeswalkers aren't good. That's
well, which planes? No. I didn't even get a chance to see your video
it's green,
yet.
Black, blue. But basically, what I wanted to do was have Planeswalkers come out that made tokens to kind of protect themselves, and then I could populate them with Xavier Sol.
That's exactly.
But before I needed to populate, I wanted to be able to do the other thing and make the Planeswalkers bigger, stronger, faster.
We're just both coughing.
and the problem ended up being like all the smaller one, like it's a lot of the token makers are negatives, which put the Planeswalkers like you are solely relying on the tokens, but you're also relying on the tokens to be sacrificed to proliferate.
Yeah. So you're getting
like
losing one, gaining it back from the proliferation. So it does.
Right. And so it was just kind of like, this is half-ass pointless. And so I had to like change a lot of the smaller Planeswalkers and just cut them out and just put in stuff like Bitter Blossom or Dread Horde Invasion and just like a couple of token producers that just aren't reliant on surviving.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then that was where that support kind of came in. And then later on, the Planeswalkers are kind of making like bigger tokens that actually can win me the game.
Gotcha.
Along with a lot of proliferating, being able to ultimate the Planeswalkers for drawing or just whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sweet.
So that was like, it took a while to figure it out. It took me about 2-3 days after. Well, this is 2-3 days from now. It took me about a day, let's say. because I did this Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And so I think by Monday night, I think I felt
Pretty good.
decent about it
Okay.
at that point.
So do you have another video you're doing, or is it just going to be the goldfish of everything kind of going through?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We'll have to.
So yeah, that was last week. We had that spotlight. Was Dollar to Duels last week? I felt like that was the week before. That was the week before. Oh no, I'm looking.
Still talk about it.
No, I'm splitting. That's what's happening.
We're only in a half hour. Come on.
Yeah, I know this is the longest. Okay, so this week, are you doing any more spotlight this week? I'm.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're kind of little limbo here. I got to gather some things up and start getting my decks going. But yeah, so there's a ton of videos though. I looked at it, not counting curated MTG. We had 12 different live videos that went so far this month. If you count the curateds and all that, I mean, there's tons of content. So if you guys aren't subscribed and all that stuff, you guys should, and at least have that bell going. Yeah, you see the hot topic was. So that is the free way to support the show. The other way to check us out is go on Twitter or X, Commander Smith at whatever that is. And we do post things there, but we don't communicate as much through there. If you want to communicate with us, join the Discord or send messages on YouTube, because we do check that out. Or you can send us a direct message at commandersmiths@gmail.com. Okay. There is one thing I did want to go over before we get to the main topic here. I did put up a poll. I do want to announce polls when we get them finished. Last week we had the secret layer breakdown of everything, and as of yesterday, the 10% discount was gone, but there still is, it's still going for the next month or so, up until the 26th, so just a little less than a month at this point. But I did put a vote up for the ones that we talked about, like our one spec. So we had Mycosynth Wave, the Tomb Raider drop, Through the Wormhole, all of these in the foil or Galaxy foil, and Lara Croft bundle. And I asked people on YouTube, or people that are following us there, which one would you want to buy? From your opinion of the four, what do you think the highest one was that people chose?
Of the four people?
No, of the four choices. There was a lot of voting. There was not
I don't give a shit.
We're not. That would be like we're back to the Twitter again.
I'm gonna say Wormhole.
It did win. Yep.
It did win. Right.
It got
with 3 votes.
42% of the votes went to Wormhole. What do you think would be second place?
The bundle.
You're right. 21% went to the Lara Croft bundle, and third
place doesn't matter. If
you're not first or second, you're last.
Yeah. If you're not first or second, you're last.
Yeah. So those were our two picks, but yeah, second was the Mycosynth Wave at 20%, so just 1% behind, and then the Tomb Raider, just the regular Tomb Raider drop was 16%. So So anytime we do a vote or poll or whatever, I'm going to try to read it. The results on the cast if we can. All right, so now we are going to talk about the personal ban list, right? We're getting to that. Yes, that's what we're getting to first. Let me get over here. What am I doing? Slideshow.
If we don't go into another masturbation joke story, we'll try and do.
Yes,
we'll try and do staple verses.
But because of the masturbation joke and story, it might have. Yeah, about 400. Hey,
I think I spent 250.
I'm there with you there, Parks. I was gonna only spend a certain amount, and then I kind of came up with maybe I should try the non-foils of the Wormhole because they're only $25, and so I bought a handful of those and whatever.
What you should have done was go and look at these secret layers at the jerk-off spot, and then ejaculate in your cup and hand it in.
I love magic, but it doesn't do that to me.
All right.
I mean, it's close. I do get the little butterfly feelings.
Elves
inside.
in the deep shadow going on. Yeah. That's all right.
Is that we're elves in the deep shadow? All right. So, personal ban list. We've talked about this before. All of you may know or may not know.
What did we say last time?
Well, okay. The last time we talked about no counter spells and tutors. Do you want to go over that and kind of explain why we do that and all that, or how do you want to do this?
Oh, I mean, I guess.
Why did we
You got it. You got your notes. Let's do that, and then I'll pipe in like we normally do.
Okay, so well, first off, what is a personal ban list? Like that's what we should first talk about. What does that mean? Does that mean what we mean by that is not like, hey, these cards should be banned, or you should have a talk with your play group and everybody should follow this. What this is personal. It's what you have decided. Now,
Right.
in
You're
our
not forcing this on anybody else.
right, in our play group, a lot of people, but not everybody. We don't care, like if you do it or don't. A lot of people, our personal ban list was the no counter spells and no tutors. We did that because we got out of standard, not even standard. What would you call what we were in? It was Legacy, wasn't that what it was called back then? Not Legacy.
I mean, that's essential. We were playing casual Legacy.
And the game.
Jake was playing competitive Legacy.
right.
Beating the shit out of us.
But the games would last at an average of 3 to 5 minutes, and the games that go so fast, you get your combo, the same thing happen over and over and over again. Well, with Commander, what I loved about it is you have 100 cards, they're all different. You get different experiences every time you play it through. You don't get bored as easily. But when you added on all these tutors, what ends up happening is you just go for the piece that wins you the game. You build your deck to get the tutors. I think when we first started doing it, I'd have 5 to 9 tutors in my deck. So you go and you'd get the piece that you need, and then the deck does its thing, and then it does it, And it just got boring, like it does. It just, you keep hitting the same thing. Right. And so we personally got rid of that. Counterspells, why did we get rid of counterspells? You explain.
Because our cousin Jake had a counterspell deck, and counterspell decks are miserable. Patron Wizard, bunch of merfolk that can sacrifice themselves. Like, it's it was miserable to play against, and so it leaves a bad taste in our mouth, and we just don't care to play with them because we know how it feels. It's forced empathy.
Yeah.
And so
now
and so that's something that we try and avoid, and those two things are very easy to avoid. Yeah. And for me, and I probably for you, other than wanting to make a Magda deck that is just full of tutors.
Don't fucking jump in with everybody. Stop it.
What are you talking about?
Stop it.
I mean, it's a tutor deck. You made a tutor deck.
Where is my...
Get the fuck out!
I gotta have that button ready for you.
And so those are easy for us. I think everything else is really hard a little bit. Like, there are easy and there are hard ones, but yeah. I mean, we can talk about
we'll get to those in a little
closer
bit.
To the end. Yeah.
So the tutor stuff, I think the tutor in general made it us better, at least me. I don't know if you feel the same way, made us better deck builders, because then what we did was build, like, the deck itself isn't based off of 1 or 3 cards to win you the game. You kind of build the deck so that every card works together. You're making it actually gel well together. It's not like, okay, the only way I win this deck wins is if, for example, it's on the screen here, I go get Craterhoof Behemoth, boom, I kill everybody, and that's how I win. Just tutor it up. I'll wait until the time is right. Boom, get it. Game over. Game over. Game over. That is the problem with. I will grant you this with Magda, is Magda has its few ways of winning, and more often than not, it ends up being, was it Hellkite Tyrant that takes all the artifacts, and then I win the game because it's making treasures. Then I swing through. I sacrifice 5 treasure tokens, get the dragon at the beginning or before my turn, attack somebody with a lot of artifacts, take them all, and I end up winning the game. So when you have tutors in there, you build just for the few cards in your deck. When you don't, your whole deck, every card matters. Like, it's like, okay, I have X amount of things that do this, I have X amount of things that do that. They should all synergize together, and eventually you find a way to win. You still have your game winners, but you don't always have the same experience. Like, you don't get the tutor to go get the game winner or the certain card or whatever. Okay, so that was kind of why we do it. That was one of the things. I kind of jumped already. But this isn't rule 0 necessarily. This is just
right.
personally what you have on yourself.
It's a personal ban thing.
Yeah.
And again, we're not saying other people can't play counterspells or can't go tutor, but when I think there is a dramatic difference in games if somebody is going and tutoring.
Yes.
And if somebody's counterspelling, like Cole has no problem in our play group playing counterspells, and number two does play them, but I don't think he's egregious by any means.
Yeah.
And so like they're not problematic.
No.
I don't think they're problematic. They're blues kind of removal and protection and all that kind of stuff. It's just something that we personally don't like playing. And and so that's just kind of on us. And we're not saying that you guys shouldn't be playing counterspells either.
The thing is like I know that other people play it. Like I know the people that play it. And so it does add a different dynamic of how I play things out. I don't get mad when it gets countered, you know. I'm expecting it, you know. It's a different gameplay. So like when I'm playing a game with, I guess, the OG crew, the people that don't play with the counter spells and stuff, I feel more like, oh, I feel free that I'm gonna cast this and it's not. But when I'm playing with number two and Kohler in the game, I have to bait. I have to decide: do I think they have it? Their mana's tapped out. This is the time to go cast this spell that they would probably counter. So there's a lot more play, like game planning, which is actually part of the game as well. So you got to kind of decide how to do that. It sucks though if somebody has your number and they just want to counter your shit. Then it's not fun.
and I guess, and so we're talking about counter spells there, and we should say if your games are getting dull or too fast and stuff like that, what we were talking about before, try and cut tutors out. Make it a rule 0 with your play group.
Yeah.
Because that is a play group thing a little bit, because if you're the one that cuts back on tutors, you're just going to get trounced, and that won't be fun for you either. Yeah. But like maybe restrict the amount of tutors, or like, hey, if it's a 2 or under tutor, like demonic tutor or any of the vampiric tutor or worldly tutor, like those ones are really, really good. Obviously, maybe cut those out and life becomes a little bit easier or slower or less consistent. Like that's the part of Commander that we really enjoy, is that it's kind of random, even though you're trying to make a consistent deck, at least for us.
Yep.
So I think we can move on.
Okay. The other thing is I have why do it. So we're in the why do it section. The other thing I would say is like we did the deck always, but another reason to do it is to lower, maybe if you're playing, you touched on this too, is maybe you're doing too, like your deck's doing too well with your play group, and whatever. This might lower your deck level, your power level a little bit, so that you kind of said that, right? I mean, that's kind of what you said.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to reiterate because it's not just for tutors.
Yeah.
Or it can be a
for the other stuff
bunch of different ways.
Yep.
Because if you kind of want to be able to include everybody, but you still want to be able to play decks that you enjoy. Right. And that's something that we've talked about off camera, to where I was like, we enjoy building the types of decks that we do. And we know that sometimes that it can be OP or super consistent. And it's more of a conversation of how do we try and still enjoy our decks, but not go over the top all the time, or like, because having just like trouncing or winning every game, and not saying that we trounce in our play group by any means, but sometimes it can be a lot. And and so I
have to hit this.
Trying to figure out how to tweak
this.
Oh, good. I
was bad on that button.
But sometimes you need to be able to make those tweaks to make sure that it's fun for as many people as possible. Because it's not going to be fun for everybody, every game, all the time either. Yeah. So like, some people are going to be sour grapes or salty or whatever it's going to be, and you can be that same thing. Emotions are okay to have, but you also want to try and be able to find ways to make sure that you're not doing the same, or you're at a proper playing level. So I think that's part of it. Yeah. Of why you would want to do a personal ban list on, like, you know what, this card, I'm playing it everywhere. Okay. So now we're gonna get into a couple other like why?
Yeah, because we've already gone over the two examples we've talked about before. Yeah. But for example, what kind of triggered the idea was from guys. Oh yeah, that is also one thing that we don't have on the list. So we do have Demonic Tutor and Counterspell, and actually what Renshai there kind of triggered this. We also don't play combos. We don't play infinite combos. We try not. There has to be a. He didn't. Right. That's not what he was saying here, but he said finite, and it triggered me saying infinite. Yeah. So that's another thing. We just don't want the game to just like abruptly end, infinite combo, whatever. That one I think I'm a little more like when I play other. But that's the thing is, again, if it happens, I just go, oh, all right, let's start a new game. If I'm playing with somebody that doesn't abide by those rules, because that's not a rule. It's also it's a personal ban thing that we personally don't do.
Right.
So okay, so. What kind of triggered the idea of this was more so when we had Guys Weekend and I was playing one of my older decks, and we had a joke for the longest time that all my decks had Cyclonic Rift and Craterhoof. Like it's the beginning parts of the podcast, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. We're coming up on 6 years at this point. Right. A lot of my decks, like that was my answer. Cyclonic Rift was... If I didn't have enough removal, I don't like spot removal. So that is just a personal thing. I'm not I don't like playing sword. I know everybody loves it. Loves the spot removal. It does get rid of it doesn't reset the board, which is great. But I like hitting everything. If I'm going to hit something, I try to hit as much as I can or have options to hit more. So Cyclonic Rift was always my answer to, shit, I don't have enough.
Can I expand upon Cyclonic Rift, though? And we've kind of talked about this a little bit too. This is one card that I don't have in any decks, and I haven't put in a deck in a long time. And this is on my personal ban list already because it is played a whole ton. Now Adam hasn't made a lot of blue decks, but it is almost an auto include in a ton of blue decks, and so even though it's not tutored for, like we're not tutoring for it, it still feels like there can be a Cyclonic Rift in every game. Mm-hmm. And that part makes it boring, in my opinion. And so I don't want to add to that, because having a Cyclonic Rift in the middle or end the game, every game that blue is involved, is shitty.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's like, another Cyclonic Rift win. Okay.
Right.
How did that deck win? Cyclonic Rift. Oh, it's the same thing with green. Crater of Behemoth. How did that win?
Right.
Crater of Behemoth. Oh, okay, I get it. Like, so, yes, I agree. Like, you have been on board of not playing it for a while. I probably, and this also probably coincides with, I haven't built a ton of blue as of late, but I have built green.
Right.
But neither of these two have made it in a deck for at least probably 2 years for me at this point. It might be longer, but I know this year I didn't put a single one in a deck. They start off in the beginning, like as options, because I like to show that when I'm cutting, and then I get rid of it eventually. But then when I was playing Guys Weekend, Cyclonic Rift came up. I had enough mana to do it. Would have reset the game. I had no way of winning at that point. I mean, I would have won, but I mean, I would be at the upper hand after playing it, but I didn't win after playing it. So I was like, I don't like this card. I don't want this in my deck anymore. And that's the same thing with Craterhoof. So those are two cards that immediately, we've talked about that. We've joked about that being in my decks all the time. They aren't going to be in any decks anymore unless it I can see myself Craterhoof maybe, but there's other options out there. You can find a different way.
I think one thing about Craterhoof is that's one, like, to whereas Rift, I try and avoid almost at all costs because of how everywhere it is.
Yeah.
Craterhoof Behemoth play, like, I'm going to be ridiculous and say in the last 5 years, I've put it in one deck. And that was my Nikia deck. That was all creatures. And so it was specifically all creatures. It was just kind of like, I need a way to go over the top.
Right.
And sometimes win fast and stuff like that. So that was the only deck that it's been in 5 years. And like, I find that acceptable. I think it's okay to have in like a deck.
Right.
But also, if you're putting it in 5 of your decks,
switch it up with Triumph of the Hordes.
Things. Right. Well, but I mean, like, if you're relying on that on 5 of your decks, those 5 decks probably play pretty similar as well. And so
then you're getting back
that's
to
one
the
thing for me is
you're getting back to the tutor
I
thing.
need different decks.
Yeah. Well, then you're getting back to that tutor thing that we talked about. Is now your decks are very similar in what they're a different commander, different whatever tribe or whatever
Different
you're
cards
playing
or whatever.
But they're
if you're
doing
just
the
going
same
wide
thing
with creatures.
Wide, Crater Hoof, win. Then it's like, ugh, like they're all doing the
Right.
same thing essentially. I will also add on that is like Crater Hoof, you see it a lot. How do you feel about Moonshaker? Moonshaker Cavalry.
It's new enough that I'm not.
I know that's where I'm in this. I wanted to
into any decks.
I want to see it win a couple times. If I start seeing it more and more, if it ends up like Crater Hoof is, I probably won't. But I put it in my will deck. That was my Crater Hoof in a way. Because we'll see what happens. I've never played it yet. I've had it in my hand, but I've never played it to win the game. We'll see how much of a.
I don't have it in any decks.
But it's only been out.
I haven't made white in a while.
It's only been out for 3 months at this point.
Yeah, at most.
Yeah, because we just had Ixalan, so then that was Eldraine or whatever. 3-month whatever. So, okay, so those two on my personal ban list. Again, when we say all this, like I will say counterspells. I've leaned more towards finding mode counterspells. I love modes. We've talked about that before. Modes are fun, where you get to choose. If one of them is counterspell on there, I'm totally fine with that. And I'm totally fine with using that. I haven't, but what is Sublime Epiphany is probably one of my favorites because it has like 6 modes on it. And it costs 6. It's not 2 blue. It's not easy to do that. I'll do that. Or if you have a tutor that when you sacrifice a creature, it comes, what's the exploit? You sacrifice a creature, go search for anything or whatever in your deck. Well, if it's in a sacrifice,
Sidisi, or are you talking about Diabolic Intent?
Nope, Sidisi. So
okay,
that's in my Teysa deck because then I get double triggers. I get to go search for 2 cards, all that fun stuff. So when they fit into, is that how it works? Death trigger. It's in there because of the sacrifice. No, it's in there because of the sacrifice. I think it might not even be in there anymore.
I don't think it works.
Well, don't correct me on logic on things that should be rules. No,
I'd have to check it out actually. But
no, I think it was more of because I have a sacrifice outlet of that.
Oh, having the sacrifice outlet. Yeah.
So and I'm just trying to think as well. So like, it's not saying never tutor, and then I have a Magna deck. So the deck itself is
right. It's a tutor deck.
It's the theme. It's the theme. Okay. So yeah, go ahead. Oh, I guess
is there another thing we want to address before we get to cards or ideas?
I think one more thing we both don't do is, which kind of feels the same as Cyclonic Rift here, is just board wipes. We don't have wraths that typically we just Wrath of God or Damnation just to wipe the board. That's what I hate the most about the Commander precons is they go, all right, here's our removal package. Board wipe, board wipe, board wipe. Swords of Plowshare, Path to Exile, and Utter End. There's your removal package. It's just fucking lazy. Like it just feels really lazy. It's just, I don't know. So
it's okay for somebody to win. If you reset the board without a plan and without a way to win, and that's the problem with Cyclonic Rift, in my opinion, is how people use it. And so if you're just desperately trying to just stay in the game and you Wrath of God, it's whatever. Now, if everybody at the table is going, we need a Wrath of God, well, that's a little bit different too. But for me, I'm just not gonna have it. Yeah. That's gonna be okay. Like, fine, somebody's gonna win. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a deck that was playing off of it, or that you had a deck that was like your stuff is indestructible, or you had a lot of things that did that,
right.
You're making it one-sided, which it gives you the advantage. But it's a little more work than just a Cyclonic Rift, one card that has that all in one package.
It creates different cards that you're using. You know, there are some like Wrath of God. It'll destroy all creatures that don't have tokens on them. Now you have a token or, counters on your creature deck. Some other people might have counters on them, so it might not hit everything, but it creates a little bit of difference. Or we've talked about like Wrath's like Debt of Loyalty, where everybody gets to keep a creature, different kind of Wraths, or like there's the one where you can Wrath but keep one creature, and if you're like a Voltron deck, you have your big commander that's likely able to get through. You have like Chandra's Ignition and Feather targets a creature of yours, so you can get it back. And you're always just leaving Feather around and killing everything else. Like, there are different ways of doing it, and you're leaving win cons around, and it creates different situations rather than Wrath of God. Did somebody have protection for themselves? Like Heroic Intervention, Teferi's Protection. If somebody has those, they win the game. Not even necessarily you. But, so, like, just plain out Wraths, stuff that just wipe the board and don't actually progress the game, I avoid. That's a personal. I don't know if I've used Wrath of God since the podcast, or Damnation, or
Yeah.
So totally agree on that.
My video is delayed, just by the way. You're gonna see me start talking, and then my mouth is gonna move. So I don't know what's going on here. Like, it's just all of a sudden I noticed that I froze up for a second, and it hasn't caught up yet. So look at this. I look like I'm a bad dubbed movie on Netflix or show on Netflix.
Great. You mean where they're walking next to the camera making noises and the
God,
fast beat?
Damn it.
Die Hard.
Damn it. Stupid Die Hard.
Another thing to consider would be like budget. And this one's a little hard to swallow because some people spend more money on Magic and others don't, and sometimes you're just gonna have to bite the bullet and be like,
for you.
Maybe I shouldn't play this ultra expensive card that just wins me the game every time when it comes out. Sometimes you just gotta eat it, I think.
Yeah. So are you referring,
and we'll get to that card specifically.
Are you referring to Gaia's Cradle? Is that what you're trying to say?
I am suggesting Gaia's Cradle is a self-ban at this point.
Well, up until like a year ago, you wouldn't be able to do that. No, you've had it for what, 2 years now at this point?
I'm coming up on 4.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I got it right before like the COVID spikes.
Oh, nice.
So
all right, so that was it. That was it for the 3 that we personally have now. Like I mentioned, Cyclonic Rift, Crater are 2 that we've been thinking about. I've been thinking about.
Right.
What are some other ones besides, you said Gaia's Cradle? Well, go ahead. Do you want to talk about that one?
Cradle, I think, hits a lot of bad notes for me at this point. Like, I really enjoyed playing it because I've been suckered for so long. And so getting it felt really good. But in games, if you get it, it's such a ridiculous amount of mana so fast. It's a Keldon Warlord. And it's so expensive, being $1,000-ish, where, depending on where you get it. And it really does lopside the games. And because the other thing too is that it's hard to get with that type of budgetary restraints. It's and it's just a crazy amount of mana. Like, it's a feel bad kind of card for sure. So I have been putting in a lot of decks, and I think I've been trying to take it out. Like, it's not in my hashtag Team Force Walk deck anymore. That was the last time I remember seeing it back at Minneapolis.
Out!
Minneapolis Magic Con. I'd have to go through, but I think I have worked it out of all of my decks at this point. Just for those 2 considerations.
Good for you.
Just allowing me to all these buttons.
Have you gone through all of the cards / ideas that you wanted to talk about? Or did we want to go back and forth?
Well, there was just no. I mean, like, let me jump on Giz with that really quick. I think that one, it doesn't just get plugged into every green deck for me. It goes into if I'm playing it's the same kind of thing of Craterhoof, I guess, in a way. If I'm playing a deck that has a lot of counter, like creature token counters, then I'll play that. But I haven't built one of those in a long time, so in green. So it's also been.
You see it in a place to go but you're not building it a whole ton.
Right. I haven't put it in a deck in probably the same amount of time for Cyclonic Rift and Crater Hoof at this point. So some of the other things I shy away from as of late is like Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora. I think they're really good.
Do we add Esper Sentinel into that as well?
Esper doesn't get abused as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, Rhystic is just too damn good. Your Esper, It's only the first non-creature spell, so it's very specific, and it doesn't happen with every spell that is cast. So, like, Rhystic is just ridiculously good. If I can find... It will go in decks, but if I can find enough draw with other things... God, this is throwing me off to see myself. I don't want to see myself there because I'm like 5 seconds behind.
Look at me. Look at me. I'm the captain now.
5 seconds. I want to like hide my video because it's throwing me off so bad.
All right.
Maybe
Okay,
I'll flash you and 5 seconds later you'll see it.
I guess I do agree with Rhystic Study. That's definitely something that I try and avoid.
Mystic Remora, I feel
decks.
like, is better because it has the cumulative upkeep, and it's really good in the beginning of the game. Later, it's still good later, but Rhystic just is too good. It's such a...
Right. I think Rhystic's up there. Mystic, Remora, and Esper Sentinel
are like B level. Like, I would say...
They're still very, incredibly good, right? But
you
they're not...
You put Rhystic at A and those at B, if you're doing tiers and everything.
Yep. And I do agree. Like, I think for me, I try and avoid putting Rhystic Study into decks, but if I find myself not drawing enough, like I'm running out of cards in hand, I do add it in and more... and so it goes in with more draw to make sure that I'm drawing enough. And then if I feel like I'm drawing consistently enough, I try and take it back out again.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those cards that allows me not to run out of cards. But also, like, I know if I'm drawing enough cards, then it's not problematic. Like, I don't need it in there because I don't need that amount of cards. Right?
Oh, I want to hit
so
it.
Like...
Oh, good for you.
No, I think it's a good balancing card because it's one of those things where like
I agree.
I'm on a theme that is not like draw themed. Like it's not Tadiova or there's plenty of...
That's a good example.
Tulane doesn't need it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I didn't put it in Will. Will was like, I have so many X draw spells that I was like, I don't need Rhystic in here because I'm going to gain a bunch of life, draw 30 cards, and I don't need... Rhystic is not going to help me in this point. So it got cut from there. So I agree. Yes, there's a very good... That's what I'm saying is like, this list here are ones that I'm not saying I'm not going to play. I'm not putting on my personal ban list, but it's kind of like, when Wizards or whatever says, we're watching this card. That's what I'm kind of doing. I'm like, if I'm playing this a little too much, I'm not going to play it as often. So Rhystic was one of my first ones.
I agree.
Smothering is another one. Smothering Tithe, that's everywhere. But it's in white. But white is good now. I mean, remember years ago we did the whole episode on is white the new best color, and it was a joke, but it's good. There's so many good cards in that color at this point, and Smothering is the best ramp spell out of all the colors at this, besides the next one in red, but
right. Smothering Tithe is a card that I don't think I don't have a huge problem with it, other than it is annoying. It is everywhere, so it's ticking off some bits. I generally don't put it into a like green-white deck because green has my ramp.
Yeah.
And so even though it's very good, they're just trying to find reasons not to play that card. I agree. That's kind of on that list as well.
Do you have one on one that you want to talk about on yours?
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with the Craterhoof Behemoth bit. Like, it's just the best end gamer for black with Torment of Hailfire. Yeah. And that's one where I used it for the first time in a long time in my Balrog deck. back in the summer, and I used that more of a like mid or early game, just trying to get some sacrifices out of people to lower the cost of the Balrog. And I think it works perfectly there. It's not a game ender necessarily. It can be, but it has multiple uses. And I could have easily put it into Rowan in just losing a bunch of life and then tormenting.
Oh yeah, because the X, But did you put exsanguine, whatever? Can't even read.
Exsanguinate?
Yeah, did you? I felt like that was in there. Yes, I remember. Mark
that is in there, and that's the only deck it's in as well. But that's more of like that lose life,
your life
gain
back
life type thing. I need to gain the life, so that's why that made
that
the cut
deck
there.
does so well gaining life for such a losing life
for
deck.
such a life loss deck.
Yeah, it's really good.
So like having a reason, like the Balrog is a sacrifice deck, and I felt like that was a decent. It's an everywhere card, not just a hold on to it until I'm going to win the game kind of card. And so, but that kind of card, when it's just used so much as a black finisher. I try or Craterhoof for a green finisher, or maybe the Cavalier for white finisher. Like those kind of cards feel very combo-y to me. Like I play it, I'm likely going to win.
Right. Well,
and so if I don't I don't necessarily enjoy playing those kinds of cards. And I kind of call it like going over the top. And so like not saying that you can't play those cards, I just try and not do it a lot.
Right. One thing I wanted to throw in there is, how would you feel? This is not on my list, but it triggered me when I was going through stuff, kind of looking at things. Akroma's Will. How would you feel about something like that? Because here's my argument that you could be on this.
Same thing.
But it does. It typically is you win the game with that card, but it has that mode thing where I used it for Guys Weekend as protection because I was able to play it and it gave protection from everything, indestructible, blah, 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 blah. Number 2 is trying to destroy all creatures, take out my stuff. And that was I was going to use it for the game win, but I used it for protection instead because I didn't have any other spells in my hand for protection. Yep. And we've talked about that because we don't play counter spells. Those are our counter spells. And so I personally love Akroma's Will. It more often than not, it is a game winner for me. But I use it a lot occasionally for protection. So I'm fine with that card. It goes in any of my tokens. So yeah, it's in. Was it in Will?
It's not everywhere in our play group.
Yeah,
it's a very good card. It's not something that I've used a ton of, knowing that it is really good and it does feel like an over the top card for me.
Yeah.
But again, it's not something that I'm seeing a problem with.
Well, and there's stipulations with it, like
right.
If you don't have your commander out, you can only choose one of them. If
how about let's push that over? Can or is Heroic Intervention, Boros Charm, Teferi's Protection, are we overusing them? Are they a type of problem card?
No, that's it's funny. If we played counterspells, I'd say yes, but that's our counterspell. Like those cards are how we prevent from dying. Basically, we're not countering the thing that's going to destroy everything. We're not doing that. We are playing a spell that protects our stuff. Because we don't play counterspells, because I thought about that too, because Teferi's Protection's up there on the list as one of the top cards to play. But the thing is like now we have the new one too, where Everyone Lives from the Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah,
I'd be fun to play with that one a little bit too more. But the thing is with those is when you cut out counterspells, you have to have another way to protect your things. If you're not. And the nice thing is there's a lot of, I guess it's almost better because counterspell is just, strictly blue. There are some reds and stuff, which we'll talk about in Staple Versus, not this week because we are over that hour. Not this week because I'm going to be honest with you. As the cast goes along, my body is hurting more and more and more. I'm just like, oh, God.
Right, so this is it.
Yeah, we aren't doing Staple Versus after this because I'm like, I think I'm actually getting sick because ibuprofen. It took right before the cast is supposed to kick in, and it's done the opposite at this point. So, but yeah, so counterspell, that the protection stuff, we do use it a lot, but that's because we don't play counterspell. So that's our way of protecting our stuff. I do try to use. I think that's also what gets people frustrated sometimes is then I always have an answer or have not always, but you know what I'm saying? Like in response, but then that can get countered, you know, if people are playing counter spells, they can counter that too. It's all fair game and everything, but I get what you're saying. If we're using it too much, but the reason we're using it more is because we don't have the other option.
Counter spells. Yeah. So it could be, you know, if there were different options or more options, I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a thought that I've had. I don't have a problem using it. Now, 2 cards that I do want to talk about here. Let's go with this first one. And roll it in with the other. Mana Crypt. And I've seen a lot of talk about Soul Ring.
Yeah.
A Soul Ring I have no problem with.
I don't either.
Like, I don't know if I get the hate either, other than it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Mana Crypt, you're more on the price tag of it and how many people have it is what you're kind of thinking.
Well, I think also just like that free part, and it is.
I mean, Soul Ring is basically free.
Available.
Doesn't it feel like it?
Sometimes
you don't have the negative of having to flip a coin at the beginning of your upkeep and all that stuff. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It doesn't
like if you're playing Will and you draw 20, how many are you going to be able to drop a Soul Ring?
Say that again.
You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to draw a ton of cards, do you hold one up and draw one less just to play your potential Soul Ring, or just be able to draw as many cards as you can and drop a Mana Crypt? Like dropping free spells are good. They're important. They're like
I'll say this with Mana Crypt is it's good to have in the decks that if you're playing colors that don't have enough ramp. Like that's when that goes in for me. That or themed. It doesn't go in every deck. So of course coin flip deck it goes in there. It went in Will because I'm gaining life. So I'm thinking, well, the loss of 3 life is not a big deal.
And I put it in Rowan because I get to lose some life.
Right. So
like we both have that like give or take in those kind of books.
Right. But if you're just shoving it in every single deck, especially with proxies and everything, Scott said, get rid of them both. I'm fine with either. I'm like, I don't notice. I just like to give people shit on turn 1 Soul Rings. And I don't notice, like, if I tracked that game to see how that player did. But again, we've talked about this before. It isn't a turn 1 Soul Ring that player ends up winning. Actually, they end up more often than not, all things being equal, they end up losing because people pick on them more. But we don't do that. That's the thing is, that's only based on the big time streamers. They did that thing with calculating all that fun stuff out. But Soul Rings, I don't feel are a problem. Mana Crypt. Would you feel the same if Mana Crypt was a $10 card?
I think fast mana can be just a problem in general.
So it's probably good that it's more expensive.
Things up.
Because
to a degree, I mean, if everybody had one, I would probably have less hesitation.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the money, but just everybody in our play group, do they have it?
Right.
You know, and so that's definitely one of those cards where I feel like it feels a little unfair because you just have maybe it's like 2 shots at Soul Ring. The place where I try and use it, I'm using it more than I think I'd like right now, and that's something that I'm probably gonna have to go through and look at. But I try and put it in spots where it's not green and I'm like a higher CMC.
Yep, for sure.
So like I generally like to be around like 2 to 3 average CMC, and like those are my thick spots in my curve. But if I'm sitting there at like in the like 4 pushing 5, it's something that I like to put it on par with where I know I like to play at a certain speed. And so those decks just try to have more ramp in. And so I'm probably playing it more than I should. Like, it probably shouldn't be in Rowan. Like, that deck does not need help.
Yeah.
Even though it fits on theme, it doesn't need help.
For
Same thing with you, though. Will doesn't need help. That fucker is crazy.
Well, it needs the ramp help. I don't have enough because I'm not playing Smothering Tithe. I'm not playing. It's blue white,
right.
And so I'm not playing enough ramp, and so that's.
But I don't think you need it there. I haven't seen you have it, and you don't need it. You know what I mean?
Well, the problem though is I'm not going to get into the depth of Will with it.
The problem is turn 5, drawing 20 cards and playing 10 spells.
No, it's that Will is it's now a target. Both
Will and Rowan are probably some of our best decks.
Oh, good for us.
Good.
I mean, our
for
best
you.
decks.
And it's funny. It was
they're crazy, though.
Bit to build those. We were like, hey, we
Right.
weren't even planning on actually building them. We're like, I like Will, and you're like, I like Rowan. I was like, hey, let's do a build off.
They're nuts.
Yeah, they're.
So
I probably
that's something
goldfish
that I
with
try
that the
and
most.
watch
Yeah.
out for.
Really quick, Scott did say other option. We've talked about that one. Is everybody starts with the Soul Ring. That is a game. I think we did it in the like different games to play with Commander.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I can see it. It makes it go quicker. I think if you wanted a quicker game, everybody starts with it in the command zone.
Yeah.
Kind of like the drawing 2 cards and playing 2 land thing. Everybody's turn. So I could see that, but I wouldn't say everybody gets the Soul Ring necessarily. Again, unless somebody goes off, gets everything right. We've seen that happen where it's Soul Ring
Right.
into blah, 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 into blah, blah, blah. And by turn 2, they're casting a 7-drop something and we have no answers and the game's pretty much over. They didn't have fun with that. They loved that they got everything comboed to get to that thing, but it still wasn't that great of a game. You just got all the right drops and all that stuff. That hit everything I had on my list of personal ban things that I had on.
I just have one more major one that I probably want to talk about is Dockside. Like
oh yeah,
Extortionist.
Dockside. But I was putting that in with Smothering a little bit almost. in a way.
Yeah, and Dockside is probably something that like I have not sanctioned myself at all on using it.
No, it's a good because you're in red. It's a good one.
Right.
And it is dependent upon everybody else out there. Hey, and if you have a charismatic Conqueror out and somebody plays a Dockside, thank you for all the same 1/1s that are coming into play for me. Because
I mean, you can have them coming to play tapped.
yeah, are
That's
they
what
going
I
to do
would
that
do.
though? That's not what you do with a Dockside. Your Dockside, you're like,
Unless I'm about to go off,
Yeah.
but at the same time, normally when I play Dockside, I'm not about to just straight win. So
maybe that's why you play it so much is because it isn't normally your combo piece to win. You're
And
playing
maybe,
it for a
maybe
ramp.
that's how I've rationaled it. Like I just look at it as a solid ramp piece. I don't generally blink it. There's not normally like reanimation. There isn't normally like double. Yeah, like it comes down. It normally gets me 4 or 5 treasures. I do it fairly quick.
Ibukaki jumps on. He hasn't been on all night, and he jumps on. Ban cards that interact with other cards when Adam's turns are too long. Thanks.
Good night, hockey. So that Dockside is something that I have not personally, but it's something that kind of came up when I was thinking about it. I was just like, am I using it too much? I don't think I've played it.
I build a
or
lot of
seen other
red
people
decks,
play it.
and it's in a lot of my red.
Right.
decks.
But it's there's also that feel of when you're playing a game and people go, ugh. Like that rolling the eyes or that little like fucking what the fuck. You know what I mean? That fucking fuck. And so what were we talking about? Just went off into space. I just
Dockside, and when you play it, and I don't know, I was reading comments there too.
Yeah,
so
I kind of got sidetracked with comments too. It's something that okay. No. I was not talking about Dockside.
Oh.
It was about like playing certain cards and having people kind of groan and moan.
Oh yeah.
About a card or a thing happening. And so I try and pay attention to that a little bit. That's why I avoid extra turn decks. They're fucking boring to play against and play, people don't like playing against it. So if I'm going to do that, it has to be super on theme. I did it in there's 2 instant extra turn spells in Calmax. And I had it there for a little bit, and then I was like, I don't even like playing these when I'm,
extra
when I'm
turns
goldfishing.
suck.
Right, they're not fun. So when you realize that, you're going, oh, this sucks for other people to play against. Then that's another self-ban that we don't even talk about.
Yeah.
You know
That
what
is
I
a
mean?
good point. We don't
certain
extra
things-
turns. That is a good point. Yes,
Just
that is.
when you know that your play group or other people just don't like playing against that card, you kind of just avoid it. Or if you're conscious enough about it. But I would say listen to those groans a little bit, and that'll help guide you on what to potentially avoid in your decks.
Yep.
Or change out, or find different ways of doing it, or not play it as much.
Listen to your audience. Like, seriously, your
Right.
play group, if they're constantly not having fun when they're playing with you, if you don't change things up, they might not play with you anymore. We've said that many times.
Or Magic stops being a game for you. Or, it's made a lot of friends for us. It's gotten us together and doing a bunch of stuff. And finding things to do is harder and harder the older you get.
Right.
So keep as much in your repertoire as you can.
Repertoire.
And Magic should be as easy in there if you enjoy it.
I think we're gonna cut it here. I think you went through everything you got. Yeah, and I don't. You're not gonna be able to notice from visually from the beginning of the podcast to the end, but my shitty feeling level has gone just. I'm just like, I need to be done. So I'm glad we're not doing Sable versus.
We are done.
But again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for jumping in. Scott, Ibukaki, Renshai. I'm going to hit all you guys. Skaven969. Oh, yeah. 69. Parks. Esteban. Christopher. I already said Renshai. Thank you guys all for jumping in on the live chat. Thank you guys for joining. I guess that'll do it for this week. We'll be back to Monday hopefully next week. So we'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.
I love boobs. I'm talking tatas. I love boobs. I'm bonkers for honkers. I love boobs. Thanks for the memories. I love boobs.